Ethics for the early childhood profession. This is probably the most difficult and most important subject this semester. The NICE Code of Ethical Conduct. Hopefully you've had a chance to peruse the code as it is affectionately referred to. The goal of the code is to inform, not prescribe answers in tough decisions that early childhood professionals must make when they work with children and families. The strategy inherent in the code is to promote the applications of core values, ideals, and principles. These guide decision-making about ethical issues. This strategy is based on the belief that the early childhood professional is a dynamic thinking individual and not a robot whose actions are controlled by penalties and rewards. The code is meant to help us. The code's history. How did the written code come about? Evangeline Ward, who was NICE's president in 1977, challenged the organization to develop a code of ethics. She did draft the first code. Lillian Katz, who you see here, the grandmother of early childhood, took up the challenge, and 10 years later, we had the code. Stephanie Feeney, also a mover and a shaker in the early childhood field, has contributed most of the research that backs up this document. This code of ethical conduct provides a shared common ground for the early childhood profession. Glossary of terms related to ethics. These come from the glossary at the end of the code. You may find other definitions or even had different definitions in other courses. These are associated with the code and the early childhood profession. These are the core values, values deeply rooted in the history of early childhood. We've addressed some of these in the previous modules. They certainly seem simple enough, but they are important and recognized as basic to the early childhood profession. Those of you seeking your CDA will be asked to sign the Statement of Commitment, which is attached to the code. You are committing yourself to these values as your own when you sign that statement. Some facilities have similar codes. Those that are seeking national NICE accreditation may have you sign this particular statement of commitment. The conceptual framework of the code, if you've looked through the code, you will see that it is divided into 4 sections. Each area addresses an area of professional relationships. So we have the relationship with children, the relationship with our families, the relationship among our colleagues, and the relationship with community and society. Many ethical situations will encompass all 4 of these. Many times it will feel that the answer is not here within the code, and sometimes there is not a right answer. Each section of the code starts with ethical responsibilities. When in doubt, always read these first. Next, you have ideals. They describe how early childhood professionals should conduct professional relationships. They reflect the aspirations of professionals. Then the principles follow. These provide the guidance and identify practices that are required, permitted, or sometimes even prohibited by the code. And occasionally you may not agree with a principle, but that's when you ask for help. Sometimes our own biases and values get in the way of our professionalism. What does a code of ethics provide for a profession? These are only a few of what the code provides. Ethical behavior and decisions are seldom easy and certainly never simple. Often we need to step away as individuals and become the true professional that views everything before acting. This code can certainly help with that. Okay, the next assignment that is due is our formative child development evaluation. You will have selected an appropriate diagnostic tool to determine the developmental stage of a child during a routine observation. Many of these tools are given in Chapter 3 of your text. The rubric will judge you on an introductory paragraph where you reveal the instrument you used and where it came from. The next paragraph is about how you planned for the observation and how you felt about it when you were in the classroom and afterwards. Next, you will write about your interpretations of the data you collected. Did you observe what you thought you would? Did you observe any patterns? What are your conclusions? Did you consult with anyone on what you found? Lastly, you will implement a plan. You will construct a detailed lesson plan that includes a specific activity that addresses the child you've been observing. It can certainly build on the child's strengths and/or weaknesses. You will include your completed observation form and, of course, grammar and spelling count as well. As usual, any questions or concerns, please contact me. Before we leave this presentation, I have one last quote, which I often use as well. Thank you.